From the Exeter Tree Committee, welcome to our first annual Swasey Parkway walk. We're welcomed by some members of the Swasey Park Committee also. We're here to take a look at some of the nice trees in the park. We've noticed this year a lot of people spending more time outside in our town's park. So we wanted to showcase a couple trees and some of the work that the committee has been doing over the years to provide very nice, beautiful trees for Swasey Parkway. Red oak. Yeah. Dave was thinking probably all a few hundred years old, 300 years old, yeah.
So this was here before the parkway was built?
Probably, yeah.
I think it was probably planted when the parkway was.
Oh, this one and that large one there probably were here before, just by their overall size. Seems like there's definitely been some pruning and maintenance through the years on this tree. You can see up on the trunk there that there's been a few cuts that have completely compartmentalized around, which means the tree's grown and healed all the way around that for years and years and years. You can see the one on the roadside is also trying to. That's just a good sign of a healthy, vigorous tree that's continuously growing. There's quite a few on the backside also that you can see very well. This tree's been pruned through the years, like it's got a fairly clean crown. It's not full of dead wood or crossing branches. So it's been maintained as a really high value tree to this park. The red oaks do well in the parks where they deal with compaction really well, road salt. It's just a very hardy tree, especially for a tough environment sometimes in parks here. How long have those birches been? Are they original, or would they?
That's because they're newer, and that's what the whole tree kind of looked like when it was young, but now it's old.
I think it was a couple of years ago we had them aerated with the what do they call that?
I feel like you don't see it this old.
Like air spade?
Yes.
Yeah.
But they did it, instead of taking the turf from around it, they poked holes in like they were feeding it and did the air spade in there. Mm-hmm. So what was that, Mark? A couple of years ago, they did all of these big trees.
So it's an investment to take care of your trees, huh?
Yeah, that's something that we could talk about that later on. But yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
That tree was, how many of you around? 4 Callies.
4 Callies.
So show them 4 of these. That's how big it was around.
This is a cool tree because it's probably as wide as it is tall, which you don't see often, but it's kind of a trait of really old oaks. Yeah. Yeah. If you get a long ways down the road and you look back, you'll get a better picture of it. It's pretty cool though, I mean, look where those branches are. The tips of that, I mean, look at that way out there.
Over there.
Oh
my God. Cool.
You'll see it better if you go down there and look back. It's pretty cool, yeah. I think as they get older too, they get like decline in the top and then keep putting on, keep growing this way. I think the sugar maples do that too. They keep, getting wider as they get older. I think that's a Crimson King maple. Hard to tell without the leaves. Yeah. Yeah, it's a red leaves all year.
Oh,
yeah.
Really?
Yep.
Oh.
Yep. Red leafed in the summer, yeah. Come to find out, they kind of have weak branching, have early failure, quite messy, almost considered an invasive species of sorts.
No kidding.
So, yeah, so it's not a great long-term option for park trees.
Memorial trees, stay away.
Yeah.
A lot of girdling roots. Base in the trunk. There actually used to be one here that we had to just take along about 4 years ago.
Really?
Yeah, the root actually goes around the base of the tree and chokes the tree out. It's called the girdling root. Yes.
A girdling root?
Yeah, we bet we could see some.
Sort of like a, hey guys, watch this, I'm going to kill myself.
Does it happen like below the surface, or does it?
You usually can see it right at the ground surface.
Yep.
So it's like a root that just goes around the tree and it actually chokes the tree out.
like
I
a
bet we
boa
could find one.
constrictor.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's very common.
We want to go down to that maple now?
Yeah.
All right.
We'll head down this way.
Yeah, so this tree, you know, years ago had a branch break off or was pruned off there, and there is definitely signs of decay in that trunk. But this tree has actually been cabled and maintained by the committee. There's 2 cables up in there, all the way up in the top, on those long lateral branches, just to aid in, you know, some support. It's a fairly common arboriculture technique. Reduce some of the weight off the branches, and then cable it to give it some support. So even though there is visible decay, you know, the committee made a decision to invest in this tree to maintain it. So definitely trees can live with decay and defects with people around if they're assessed properly. So those cables will get inspected every couple of years to make sure that the connections are not rotting out or causing any other issues.
I think that there's like a lot of moss growing on this top of that lower branch, but I don't see it other places.
Hard to tell. It could just be, you know, something on that bark. It could be the sun and shade ratio there. That, you know, sun gets it, that doesn't get it other times of the day. Probably would be my guess there. You can see the base of that tree is like got all these wild and bulging roots, which is like a really good sign that there is a lot of growth in there. It is a healthy tree. I would say that depending on what the soil it's growing in is where the roots are going to go to. You know, trees along the road here are only going to be able to go so far before they hit like some packed gravel. And depends on the water need, how far the roots have to go for water, and then the structure of, you know, the actual tree species itself and what they need. So it's great. You can see it's not a perfect tree, but it's still, you know, still doing really well here in the park.
Again, you know, we really don't know how old this tree is. It's been here, you know, I grew up in town. It's been here ever since I can remember. Probably about 25 years ago when Doug Dicey was part of the trustees, we had around the base here air spaded to loosen that up. This is one of the trees that the trustees feels that we should try and keep as long as we can until it becomes a hazard. It has gone downhill the last 3 or 4 years, but at the moment we have no intention of trying to take this down because certainly we can't replace it with another single stem birch.
Sure, yeah, it'd be very hard to replace something like this.
So it would be interesting if somebody, you know, had a guess as to how old it was, but none of us do. So
yeah, it's done well. It casts a nice shadow, nice shade tree here in the park. Some of these long lateral branches here have some large girth to them. You know, these ones here are probably a foot or more in diameter. Pretty large for a lateral branch.
Yeah, and it does have one that's, you can see it was decayed and broke. It does have some decay in the center. So, you know, we do keep an eye on it.
It's a park where there's heavy traffic and salt use and people and, you know, a tough environment.
Well, we'd like to do some natives if we can. You know, certainly we have plenty of maples in here. So, but there are a couple other maples that, you know, we would look at. There's some winter king hawthorns, which we're going to replace because they're old and they've started to really show their age. And if you're down here and you see some kids climbing on them, they really move. So there's not much holding them. But, you know, things of that nature, like the winter king hawthorn. We put some, what did we put in here, Mark? Some honey locusts. So trying to get a little bit better variety of natives that will go in here. Certainly another concern we have is the ashes with the boar, the emerald ash boar. So, and we have a lot of ashes along the sidewalk. So at some point, if we have to take those out, you know, we're going to have to look at replacing
them, sure.
And along with it was been brought up, what do you do 20 years from now when the level of the river could be coming over the bank? So,
Salt water inundation all of a sudden.
Well, it happens now if we get a real bad storm, a real bad flood.
It
It comes over the fence. It's affected the turf over here. So, you know, it's a concern with the brackish water. So there's, you know, we're doing some research on that.
Thank you for joining us at Swasey Parkway today. We've got to see a few trees in their winter form with no leaves, buds just starting to emerge for the spring. Enjoy the park and make sure you check back later this year when they're all in leaf, and they'll look a lot different than they do today, but they'll definitely still be the same trees there.
And maybe we can continue these tree walks when we've had summer leaves and autumn leaves to look at, and we'll all be better at identifying stuff. But thanks very much, everybody, for coming.
Thank you.